Hey there,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So what's new?
Um, well, I feel like this test, my chem phys section went down a little bit, but that's just because it was a lot of organic chemistry questions, and that is like a part of chem phys that I have not touched. So I found this video on YouTube that is basically going over like all of the basics of chem phys, like the naming, the alkanes, like carboxylic acid derivatives, all of that. So I've just been trying to like learn that.
Got it. So
Yeah.
so yeah, the content diagnostic, don't worry too much about the score. It's just there to show us what to review.
hmm
So yeah, how's the review going for that?
It's going okay. I feel like this week was a little busy at work. Like yesterday I was busy all day and then so I haven't like got too much through the video, but today I have off, so I'm just about to just finish reviewing the video today and then do more U-World practice. But I was able to get through the Chem Phys section of my exam and the Biochem section of my exam, and I've just been doing the UWorld practice questions on the things that I got wrong because I also need to work a little bit on DNA replication and the viral cycle. But I feel like I kind of learned that honestly. Like I reviewed that earlier this week and I think I have it down for the most part. Um and
So,
then I've also just been doing cars, the aamc cars.
so when you mentioned that you were uh about your test, you're talking about the Jack Weston content diagnostic, right? Or
Yeah, well, I did the Blueprint 6 and then I did the cars section for the Jack Weston.
oh, okay, okay. I guess I see that now. Um, yeah, that's okay. You're talking so Blueprint Full Length 6 is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious as to why. So like I did, it does seem like I put it in, but I was I don't remember why I had you do that instead of the Jack Weston con. Maybe because your test was soon, or
Yeah, it's June 14th.
yeah. Um, so oh, okay, and you input in the Blueprint full length score. Okay, so 496. And what did you use for cars?
The Jack Weston LA cars.
I see. Okay.
So
Yep.
yeah, I was a little disappointed in that score just because I felt like I was doing like when I took it, I felt like I was doing pretty well. But then like I got my score back and I was just like boo, but I don't know. I need to figure out like what it is about cars that I'm not fully
Yeah,
aware of.
yeah. So that's probably what I mentioned last time that we were gonna do today, like going over the cars strategy. So, okay, okay. We can do that. So, um, do you want to go over a cars passage that you that you did in this practice
Yeah.
test or a brand new one? What would you prefer?
Let's do a brand new one actually.
Okay. And you okay, so let's see. So yeah, do you want to do one from Jack Weston, one from
Let's do one from Jack Weston.
okay? And have you noticed any like type of topic that like or category of cars like passages like that you find that give you a hard time, like, you know, philosophy or
Yeah,
art?
say the philosophy passages for sure, just because sometimes I'm just like just confused. And then also like the art history ones are like a little iffy.
Okay. Let's see.
I also saw this was pretty cool that Jack Weston has these flashcard decks.
Hmm.
Yeah, they have the amino acid deck, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep, yep, yep.
So I've been looking at that.
Hmm. Okay, let's see. Okay. Um, I can put this in the chat, and if you could open that up and share your screen. And let's have you zoom out a little bit so we can fit the entire
Oh, you
screen.
can't see.
I don't know. Just so we can fit the entire passage on the screen if you zoom out a little bit.
Wait, how do I do that?
Uh
Sorry.
through your browser. So if you go to view, yep,
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know you could do that. I'm sorry.
yep, yep. So um you could you probably could zoom in one more time. And now just scroll down a bit. Oh, okay, I guess we can't fit it. So yeah, zoom in one more time. Or sorry, zoom out, I mean. Yep. Good. So this is what we're going to do. So cars is all about arguments, and other words for arguments are things like claims, assertions, ideas, opinions, hypotheses, theories, etc. So those are what arguments are, and arguments are not going to be facts. There could be facts used to support or refute an argument, but the argument itself um, is not going to be a fact. And our job in cars is to look for arguments. And what we want to do is, and so, yeah, so what we want to do is we want to be aware like constantly of what's the argument, what who is making the argument. And when I say who, I don't mean like that you have to know the name of the person who's making the argument. I just mean to be that you should be able to distinguish the author's argument from like other arguments mentioned in the passage. Um, and we also want to look for any like support, if any, that is given for the argument. Now, so let me first tell you this is what people do, like most people do on the cars section. All right. Um, this is what people usually do. They skim or they rush through the passage, not really understanding it. They read the question and rush through the question without really understanding that. And then they frantically search through the passage for words that match words in the choices. Okay? So that's how like 90% of people do cars. We're not going to do anything like that. Okay? We're going to do a very, very different thing. So the idea behind the method that I just showed you is based on the fact that it's since it's a timed test, people think that they can save time by rushing through it, but you'll see that ultimately you're going to end up spending more time because you're going to have to go back to the passage, you're going to have to spend time on evaluating each of the choices. So, we're going to take a very different approach. Now, for so I'm going to have you read out loud slowly, sentence by sentence, and after each sentence, first tell me if it's a new argument or a same argument, and also tell me what they're saying in your own words. And a lot of times you'll get really, really long sentences, so it's okay to analyze them in parts, like up to the first comma, then the second comma, and you want to do it, you want to like understand as you read and slow. So like if you need to slow down a bit, it's okay as long as you're understanding what you're reading as you read it, because what you don't want to do is uh read the paragraph and then ask yourself after, okay, like what did I just read?
Yeah.
So, okay. Yep.
Okay.
So go for it.
Sentence by sentence. Okay. The image of Auguste Rodin generally presented nowadays is that of a rebel. So the author is stating that Auguste is a rebel. And their zeal,
Stating that?
what'd you say?
Is the author stating that?
Well, I guess it says the image, my bad. I feel like already I'm like assuming things.
Well, I
So
mean, no, you're doing good. But yeah, so tell me more about what's being said here.
it says the image itself of Auguste Rodin is presented, generally presented nowadays, um, of a rebel.
Hmm. Oh, so like, yeah, I'll like be highlighting thing. I mean, like, you don't have to highlight. Like, I know you can't highlight in different colors on the test, but I'm gonna highlight arguments. The arguments in green, evidence in orange. Oh, and you're going to be looking out for contrast words, especially if a sentence starts off with it. So like but, yet, however, etc. I'm going to highlight those in pink. And those are important because that means that anything before the contrast word must be different from what's after. And okay. Yeah. So, oh, and then I typically highlight like just kind of like the nouns to save because you don't want to like people like highlight so much that it takes out the point of highlighting. So this way, I also call it like caveman speech. Like if you just read what I highlighted, it says image, Rodin, nowadays rebel. So you just fill in the grammatical stuff in your head. But yeah, we're saying that. So yeah, so we're so instead of the author saying that Rodin is a rebel, the author is just saying that the image of Rodin nowadays, like today, that people have is that of the rebel. And that's already our argument. And so typically after the argument, you'll see some type of support in the form of like elaboration. Um, and you might have like a couple of sentences like that, and then you might have some type of evidence. But yeah, you can continue.
In their zeal to legitimize him as the ancestor of modern sculpture, his admirers single out certain aspects of his life, of his art, for praise while conveniently overlooking others. Um,
What are
in their zeal. So, as saying that his admirers see him as the ancestor of modern sculpture, so they look at specific things to validate that and ignore other artists.
ignore you said other artists?
Well, well, it says overlooking others, so other aspects
Hmm.
of his art.
Got it. So we're saying that, okay, the image of Rodin is he's a rebel, and the people who say this, uh, like, um, only talk about the good stuff about him, but they don't talk about the bad stuff. Kind of
Yes.
like confirmation bias. So it's like, you know, yeah, praise, overlooking, others, I guess. Okay.
Thus, they give credence to the notion that throughout his life, Rodin rebelled against pontiffs of academic art, most of whom have since been consigned to oblivion.
Right.
So, credence to the notion. I guess what this sentence is saying is that they're ignoring the fact that Rodin rebelled against. And when I say I feel like Pontiffs mean just like people that he should look up to or like in academic art.
So, yeah, keep going.
After all, who remembers the names of
Sorry,
Gilam?
sorry, sorry, I meant keep going in terms of telling me what this sentence is saying.
Okay.
So he rebelled against what were you saying about the pontiffs?
I would say they were like the leaders, or I guess the people that set the standards of academic art.
Yeah, very good.
Um,
And then the second part of that, most of whom have since been consigned to oblivion.
uh, I feel like that means that they've been there for a while.
Uh-huh. And so like oblivion, what does it mean to obliterate?
Uh, to like destroy.
So another way of seeing that would be like we don't have memory of these people anymore.
Oh, okay.
So the people who say Rodin is the rebel um are basing that on Rodin rebelling against I guess as you said, like the leaders or the people who, set the trends and stuff in art, and that most of these people we completely forgot about.
Yeah.
Yep, you can continue.
After all, who remembers the names of Gilalun, Schoenwerk, Dalu, J.P. Lawrence, and Chappius? So this is the names of the people that he's I
Hmm.
guess ignoring or rebelling against.
I'm putting that in orange just so we can have an idea of some evidence for the types of people that he like, rebelled against. Okay.
This concept of Rodin as a revolutionary far in advance of his time became widely accepted. So I guess now instead of saying the authors instead of saying that he was a rebel is saying that he's a revolutionary. Um,
Are you sure?
well, the concept, I guess, like well, it's saying that it's widely accepted.
Okay.
So I guess the author isn't necessarily stating that he's a revolutionary. I
Yeah,
guess yeah, this is what his admirers are talking about.
exactly. So yeah, that's one of the key things in cars. Like, so that's why I was saying, it's not just about like the argument, but it's about who's making the argument. And when I say who, I don't mean, names of people, but are we talking about the author or are we talking about other people, right?
Hmm.
So that's a common kind of uh problem people have with cars. Like if they read this to say that's what the author believes, but so far the author is just talking about this phenomenon of Rodin being thought of as a rebel, right? And but the author's more detached from it, right? The author doesn't, at least so far, present an opinion on that, right?
Hmm.
So where they say this concept of Rodin, what concept of Rodin? What do they mean by that?
Um, the concept of the notion that he rebelled against the people that set the trends or the standards in academic art and that he started something new. And
Yes.
he deserves praise for it.
Uh-huh. So the concept being of Rodin being a revolutionary, right? Far advance of his time, became widely accepted, right? So saying that this idea that people have just, became an accepted idea. Lots of people believe that to be true. Okay, continue.
Today it is difficult to find even photographs to conjure up the look of the 19th century salons in which Rodin exhibited throughout his career. So I guess the author is kind of like, well, I guess it doesn't, hold on. I guess the author is saying that there's not much of his artwork remaining, which is kind of surprising to me, I guess, because the author just said that most people in his time saw him as a revolutionary. So I guess this is kind of contradicting, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even really know what they're trying to say by that. I think maybe they're trying to say that it's hard to find evidence of this, but yeah, all in all, I'm not sure about that. And that's okay if you don't understand a sentence because a lot of the times, um, if it's really important, they'll mention it once. And that, by the way, is going to be our main idea. Our main idea will be an argument in more than one paragraph. So now I'm going to just write a little bit of something called a map for each paragraph. And you don't have to do this like in the future, but doing it now and getting used to doing it now this way can then have you kind of like or train your brain or to like kind of help you organize stuff. So here so we're going to write the argument from this paragraph. So what can we say about the argument?
Um, the argument is saying, like, well, nowadays that Rodin was presented as a rebel, and the reason being is because he went against the people who set the trends of academic art, um, and that his admirers accepted him as a revolutionary.
Okay. So, all right. So Rodin as a rebel or the idea of that. And in parentheses, I'm just throwing in the support of like Gilum or Schoenwerk and those people. So like that's what we mean by rebel, going against those types of people. Um, People who believe this sing his praise, but they overlook the bad parts. And that this idea of Rodin as a rebel is more so a thing now compared to the past. Okay.
I keep going. But if his disagreement with the quote unquote school, as he referred to the École des Beaux-Arts, bears restating, so also do those large areas of agreement. So I think the author is just saying that both sides of the I guess like both points of views matter in
Well,
terms
what do you mean when you say that?
in terms of his Rodin's point of view on how he disagreed with whatever the school was trying to push.
Hmm.
And the author is also stating that the school's point of view matters as well.
Let's see. If his disagreement with the school, so we have our contrast word, by the way, and then we're saying, okay, if his disagreement with the school, and we can say that that's likely the people of the Gilum and Schoenwerk and those people, or he referred to as that French school word, bears restating, so do the areas of agreement. So maybe they'll say disagreement as well as agreement. So since in the previous paragraph we talked about his like him going against those people, the pontiffs.
Yeah.
Now in the second paragraph we're saying we should also talk about things that they agreed on, right?
Oh, okay, so they're saying like Rodin and the school had things that they were aligned with as well.
Yes, and here's
Okay.
or I guess more so like saying that okay, the idea of Rodin as a rebel comes from him going against the pontiffs.
Mhm.
And in paragraph two, we're saying, okay, so we talked about him being just in disagreement with the pontiffs, but we should talk about agreements as well, right?
Okay.
And like that contrast word is something that you're gonna start to be able to like sometimes predict because and they're important because it means whatever's said before must be different from whatever comes after. Uh so yeah. Okay.
Like Delacroix and Manet before him, Rodin was willing to accept official recognition and honors when they came. So this sentence is just stating that, um, like other artists, Rodin accepted the honors and recognition that came with his artwork. He was even elected to the French Academy, although, ironically, the official vote was cast a few days after his death. So, this is stating, um, I don't know, maybe I'm reading into the word even, but I felt like because the author put even that that despite the fact that he had re that he was rebel he had disagreements, they still put him in the French Academy. But
Mm. Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, good, good, good.
yeah. Um, and then I guess like it's weird that well, I guess they're saying it's ironic that it happened a few days after his death, but he was still elected into the Academy.
Yep.
Rodin's sculpture, like the painting of Manet and the Impressionist, would have been unthinkable without older academic art as the point of the departure.
All right. What were you saying there?
Um, it's saying that Rodin drew his inspiration from older academic art
Mm-hmm.
and wouldn't have been able to come up with it if it wasn't there.
Good.
Visualizing his sculpture in its original
Let's write for paragraph two, our
uh,
argument.
um Paragraph two expands on the author's point of view a little bit, saying that even though he was seen as a revolutionary or rebellion, there were also agreements that he had with the academy or the school. And it backs it up with the author backs it up with evidence by stating that he was elected to the French Academy and that Rodin's got his inspiration from older academic art.
Yep. So I put CW for contrast word and an arrow to the above to say, like, continue that by saying, in addition to the disagreements, they agreed. He also agreed with like the pontiffs, and for example, elected to the French Academy, and that he was majorly influenced by older academic art. Okay.
Visualizing his sculpture in its original context, it becomes clear that in many ways his modernity is grounded in the conservatism of his time. So it's saying that his sculpture, like even though it has like a more modern take on it, its inspiration is from older
Yeah, so we could say
works.
um, modernity is grounded in the conservatism of his time.
Mhm.
Okay.
It cannot be said to have sprung full blown from an imagination oblivious to the style and subject matter approved by École Beaux Arts. So it's saying here, the author's like stating this point again that this inspiration didn't come from the things that I mean, it's saying there's no way that this inspiration didn't um come from the school. Like it definitely did. Like he learned from the school.
So we could say that, he used like the style and subject matter from this school.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess continuing how he's influenced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it goes, unlike Cézanne, whose art developed totally independent of official recognition, Rodin produced some of his greatest works thanks to the state and municipal commissions. So the author is also stating that Rodin got funding from the state and municipal commissions to even continue with his work. So it seems like the a lot of people agreed with his point of view.
So so his modernity is grounded in the conservatism. It's not like he just came up with this stuff himself. Um he was really influenced by stuff from this art school, unlike Cézanne, whose art developed independent of recognition. Rodin depended on like funding and stuff to make some of his greatest works. So, okay, what can we say for this paragraph?
I would say that it adds more evidence to what was stated in the second paragraph, where like the author is just restating the what he said before, where author Rodin was influenced by the school and by other artists that came before him, and even like the recognition that he got from the French Academy also helped to fund some of his like, really popular works of art.
All right, but sculpture shows modernity and conservatism. He was influenced by the occult, and he depended on recognition via state and municipal commissions, unlike Cezanne. Okay.
A comparison of Rodin's staggering production with that of his contemporaries in the late 19th century, late 19th and early 20th century salons, makes it difficult to consider him a precursor of modern art in respect to his subject matter. Let's see, staggering production. I feel like staggering production means is would that say that was it like slow? Is it's saying that his I guess like the rate at which he was producing art
Um,
was slow?
Staggering production with that of his contemporaries makes it hard to see him as a precursor of modern art. So, so yeah, I'm not sure if it means like slow or not, but I what I can still get from this is that compared to his contemporaries, it's harder to consider Rodin as a precursor to modern art in respect to his subject matter. So that's what I can get from it.
Yeah, I think that's what the author is just trying to say that he's not like the trendsetter
Hmm.
for modern art,
Yep.
even though that's what his admirers are saying in the first paragraph.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Yeah.
As was common practice in the past, a considerable portion of his collected works consisted of portraits. So I guess like now the author's like switching because the author was talking about sculpture at the beginning, but now they're talking about portraits.
Hmm. So, um, well, so yeah, they talked about sculpture before and now portraits, but I guess what's like the point of talking about these?
I guess to just state that
Mhm.
I guess it's trying to show you that his the art that I don't know, I'm kind of confused by this paragraph. It says comparison.
So what was I guess like the point of them t talking about the sculpture?
I feel like the sculpture was talking like when the author mentioned the sculpture, it was talking about his modernity and how it yeah, even though it was like it had like a more modern take, it was still based on like his the pontiffs.
Uh, still based on the pontiffs, or oh, you mean still based on older types of art?
Yeah, older types of art, I guess, yeah, and like what he learned in school. Um
So now the portraits are kind of saying something similar, right?
yeah, because it's saying this paragraph says it's difficult to consider him a precursor of modern art.
Hmm. And then they tell us that, as was common practice in the past, a considerable portion of his collected works consisted of portraits. So a lot of his works are portraits, which they're telling us was more common in the past. So we're talking again about how he's influenced by the past, right?
Okay.
Hmm.
I see. I was like interpreting it as like how they like I guess like kept his work because before it was like it's difficult to even find photographs to see like Rodin's like work. So then I was confused because I was like, oh, how do they have portraits? But there's talking about the past. My bad. I didn't notice that. As was common practice in the past. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think what they're saying in the first paragraph about difficult to find even photographs to conjure up the look of the 19th century salons in which he exhibited uh, throughout his career. So I don't think they mean that we can't find his work. I think they mean that where he used to display his work or exhibit his work, like the salons, we can't really find photographs to of the salons to so we can't have a good idea of what Rodin's exhibitions look like in the past.
I see.
So, but yeah, but yeah, so we're kind of saying this thing about so we kind of have a repeated idea already, right?
Hmm.
And so we could say P4, you know, that his art wasn't really modern art or, precursor to modern art because he did things like portraits, which were more common in the past.
Yes. I see. Okay.
And, as you practice this, like you're going to get to a point where you can kind of might be able to predict questions that they ask. Like I'm already thinking of one right now. I'm thinking, let's say that it was found that portraits were more popular in the modern day. Would this strengthen or weaken the argument in the passage?
Uh, wait, so you said portraits were more popular in the modern day? I think it would weaken it.
Yep. Why?
Because the author states that it's difficult to consider him a precursor of modern art.
Wait, but is that why?
Well, it would weaken it because he made portraits before it became popular.
Uh, so so it says that portraits were common in the past,
Yeah.
so it would weaken that, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, yep.
A cursory inventory of the themes, titles, and characters of his other figures reveal that the extent to which his ideas and choice of subjects were common to those of other artists of the past. So this first sentence again is just stating the same fact that the whenever you I guess like when you look at his work collectively, um that it's all very similar and influenced by artists of the past.
Yeah, so I see that the choice of subjects were common to, other artists in the past. Now, since they're saying subjects again, because in the previous paragraph over here, they said subject, I didn't include it in my map, but now I see since it's repeated, it's important, so I'm going to add it to the map. So I'll say like subject matter, like similar to past, just for paragraph 4. But yeah, now we're saying like in this paragraph 5, like if we take a inventory of the themes, the titles, the characters, and all the stuff that he made, we would be able to see how much uh his choice of subjects were similar to those chosen by other artists in the past. So we have this repeated kind of idea of him being influenced by the past. So like we pretty much already have like the main idea, but we're gonna continue anyway.
Characteristic themes were sin, melancholy, sorrow, and despair. All stages of love from desire and the embrace to abduction, sleep, fatigue, awakening, revere, thought, and meditation. So this sentence is just stating the different themes that Rodin's
That's fun.
yeah, I gotta chill. Um that he was inspired by.
Yep, yep. So we just have like a laundry list of things. When it comes to lists, I say that if they give you a numerical list, like if they tell you there's three things, number one is this, number two is this, we really want to pay attention to that, and I would include that in the map. But for like unnumbered lists like these, like you don't have to know like every single thing, just kind of treat it as a regular sentence. So okay, so we have a lot of examples of things that hit, themes that were in his art. So okay.
Yeah. Like other artists of his time, Rodin followed the old traditional use of human figures to embody time, seasons, the elements, and various flora. So this sentence is also stating that he used the traditional method um to embody like different things.
Let's see. Like other artists of his time, he followed old traditional use of the human figure to embody time, seasons, the elements, and various flora. So again, we're talking about Rodin using some old tech like stuff, or either it's going to be like either like old subject matter, old type of painting, like portraits, old, stuff in general. But yeah.
His work abounded in angel spirits, nymphs, uh, satyrs, sirens, centaurs, and endless babies of dancers and bathers. So this is just more examples of things that he painted, I guess.
Yep. And these seem to be related to the human figures,
Yeah.
or yeah.
Now this is saying biblical figures included Satan, Adam and Eve, Christ, Saint John the Baptist, and Mary Magdalene. So this is just more influence in the Bible. Um, they were revealed by the pagan legions of Pan, Bacchus, Psyche, Orpheus, Ariadne, Medusa, Aphrodite, and Apollo. Um, oh, rivaled. I'm bugging. That's how they're fighting. I guess he just has them like fighting each other. It's interesting.
Yeah, so I guess they're saying like, that he included those as well. But uh but yeah, okay, okay. What can we say for this?
This paragraph is just giving examples of the types of works that Rodin did. And I guess like the things that he was inspired by.
Mhm.
And it was still based off of the subjects were still common to other artists of the past.
Mhm.
And that he also had used had a old traditional use of the human figure.
Yep. So I just wrote subjects common to the past, used old traditional human figure for themes, example angels and all of that stuff. Oh, and then I guess I would just like so when I like do like the orange highlighting, it's like I don't really care about the specifics. It's in my brain, I'm just filing it under evidence. And they like to ask questions like, okay, which of the following assertions is not supported by evidence, or you know, what does this new like suppose blah blah blah, like, what does it how would this new information affect the argument, like those type of questions. But yeah.
Sure. Rodin had a startling facility for adapting his mode to his subjects, scale and medium. Subject, scale, and medium. Adapting his mode. I guess like just like his I guess like take on things. Like I guess his way to have his artistic, I guess, like flair on his subject, scale, and medium. Like I guess it was very like distinguishable. I think that's what the sentence is saying.
The adopting his mode to his subject, scale, and medium. So, um, yeah, I think so. Maybe that means that he used like his own style or something to these subjects and stuff that other people used in the past, but I don't really know yet. And yeah, it's okay. So, like, I would say if there's a sentence that doesn't make sense right away, like, you could like reread it once, but if it doesn't make sense after that, just continue because chances are, if it's important, that they'll um, mention it again or elaborate on it.
Gotcha. The gigantic and brilliant masks he created would stand out as fine Mannerist sculpture and hold their own even at the Bomarzo Gardens. So I guess this is just an example of one of his sculptures that were really popular.
Yep. So we could say whatever these masks, gardens. Okay.
His busts of garlanded adolescents belong in Rocco Bodier's. Bodier's?
Mhm.
I think this is just the author stating
Mhm.
like where he like I guess his opinion on or their opinion on where they feel Rodin like the standard of his work should be here.
Okay.
That is even the style of his works resembled older art.
All right. So maybe that's what they mean by the adopting his mode, right?
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so yeah, style, older art.
And he imitated that older art for a reason. It was profitable to do so. So this is the author's
Mhm.
take on why Rodin
Yep,
took that route.
got it.
He was trained both to think and work in the manner of, quote unquote, what or whom depended on the whims of the client.
Mhm.
So I guess like if he got commissioned to work on a piece, then it just depended on what the client wanted.
Yeah, you so now I guess we get a more of an understanding about adopting his mode.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if the client wants him to draw it this way, he's going to draw it that way. And also, elsewhere in the passage, they talked about how he was like, uh, if he got paid for his art and stuff, he was into that, you know.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that we can see. But that's pretty interesting what they say about the profitable part. So okay, yep, continue.
Throughout his life, his talents were available for varied product projects in many modes to those who could pay for them.
Yes.
So I think that's the author like tying everything together and saying that
Hmm.
it was money driven.
Yeah. So okay, what can we say for this?
So I think the final paragraph is just stating the reason why Rodin's art was based off of like older art, I guess. And yeah, he said it because it was profitable to do so. And he was saying even though he based his like, he did the stuff for the money, he still had his mode, which made it stand out.
Hmm. So it's a adopted this old style to fit into what clients want because it's for profit. So okay, so now we look for repeated arguments and what can we write?
I would say uh the most repeated argument is that Rodin was influenced, well, most of his art was based off of older and tr more traditional techniques or just like traditional artworks. That's like the main idea. And then the author is stating that most of it, the main reason why he did that is because it was profitable. And then the author gives like examples of like I guess like older themes that are not even I don't necessarily think they're like older themes, but the author gives examples of what Rodin like the types of work that he did.
Mhm.
Um and I guess I don't know if the author sees Rodin as a rebel though. I don't think so.
Yeah, yeah. So I put so our main idea, Rodin's art is based on older things like styles, subjects, etc. And whatever the client wants because he's doing it for profit. So, okay, so take a screenshot of like the highlights and the map. I'm gonna use the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Oh, hey. So cute.
Okay.
That your cat.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. In the picture, yep. Mm-hmm. So you got your screenshot?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's try these questions out. So I block out the passage because I mean if we need to, I can unblock it, but this way it can help us really focus on the questions.
Okay. You know. No, I want to do that. I'm just trying to move it here. Okay. So, should I start with the questions?
Mhm.
Okay. The author explains that Rodin's focus was different from other artists that are traditionally associated with the creation of the modern art movement because Rodin chose to produce more work than no. I think I'm gonna go with C.
So let's try this. So now let's force ourselves to really like understand what the question's asking. So what is it really asking us?
It's saying, it's asking like why Rodin's focus was different from the other artists that were like what's his name? Cézanne
Okay.
creation of the modern movement. Like they're it's just asking why.
Yeah, so what's different about Rodin's focus compared to um, other artists that are considered to have created like the modernist movement?
Yeah, so it because the author said that Cézanne had more older traditional, I mean no, not Cézanne, it was Rodin's had more older traditional influences, whereas like Cézanne, who was a artist in the modern movement, didn't have that influence and like completely did something like vastly different
So okay, so your answer is what?
because Rodin was more influenced from older traditional artwork and from the academic pontiffs from his school.
Now we have something to look for. And let's just try going from A to A, like choice by choice. Start with A.
Produce more work than most modern artists. I don't think that's the one.
Why not?
Because like the author didn't mention anything about that in the passage.
Um, but if he did,
If he did, then I mean, but I don't think that wasn't the focus as to why.
yeah. So I released like a YouTube short recently where I said something like the most risky reason to eliminate a choice is because it wasn't mentioned, because a lot of things won't be mentioned, but we want to see like even if it was mentioned, right? is that what we're looking for? Because we're looking for Rodin had more influence from older art, right? Because and that's his focus, and that's what made him different from the other artists. Whereas A says he's different from other artists because his focus was to make more work, artwork. But making more or less, we're not talking about him being different because he's making more or less, right?
No, no, that's not the reason.
Okay.
Um, B states to chose to paint subjects as modern artists would not. Um, I guess that could work.
Okay.
It said the passage did state that Cézanne was like completely different.
Uh-huh.
And then I feel like C that I was like tempted by C because it said thought getting paid for his work was important because the author stated in the final paragraph that the reason why he was more inclined to make pieces that were based off of that were more like influenced by older artwork was because it was more profitable.
Okay. So, uh, so that shows that a couple of things, right? Um, so C could be a true statement, um, but it wouldn't answer the question, right? Right? Let like so we agree. So like the passage did say that, you know, in other words, like that he thought it was important to get paid for his work, right?
Hmm.
So that could be a true statement, but we're trying to figure out how is he different from the other artists,
Okay.
right? So while C might be true, right? Um, it wouldn't be answering the question, right? Um, so that's if it's true, but also we don't know if it's true. We know that Cezanne didn't believe that, but we talked about, I mean, I didn't put them in the map, but we talked about a lot of other artists in the passage. So, and Cezanne was the only one that they mentioned that didn't, do this payment thing. So, so we could eliminate that. And also, so in psych soc, like the recency bias.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what happened because you were like, I think you chose this first
Hmm.
right away. And that's why I, blocked it out because if you are, if the way that you should approach these questions is you want to like first make sure you know what they're asking. And then if you can come up with your own answer, then you have something to look for and that makes you less susceptible to the wrong answers, especially the trap answers. Because the trap answers are going to be the ones where most of the time it'll be just something straight up from the passage. And remember how I said most people, how they do cars is they go back to the passage and they look for words that match, right? And so they look at this and then they see like, okay, profit, right? Getting paid matches. But if they look at B, they're going to see, oh, well, they didn't say that he painted subjects that modern artists would not paint. So since they didn't mention it, that's wrong. That's the opposite of what you want to do. So that's why, so that's why blocking it, um, basically got you your answer. Mhm. So yeah,
Okay.
you think this would be?
Yeah, I feel like B is
Yep.
makes the most sense.
Yeah. Good.
So, according to the passage, traditional art, one, fell out of fashion with the French Academy by Rodin's time, depicted important Christian figures, refused to depict important pagan figures. So this is one, it's one only. I don't think it's one
Okay.
at all. So guess we'll cross out A.
Mhm.
Um, I do feel like it depicted important Christian figures because it talked about Satan and
Mhm.
angels.
Okay.
But I'm like refused to depict important pagan figures. I'm trying to think about like what was in the passage because it was like in that list of examples.
Mhm.
I'm like, what are the pagan figures? Are they the what do you call it? The Greek gods? Is that pagan?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yep. Pagan generally refers to like older polytheistic like religions. Um, but yeah.
So I guess it'll just be two and three.
Uh, Tell me about three.
Oh, it says refuse. My bad, I'm bugging.
Mhm.
So I think it'll just be B as well.
Yeah. Good job.
Suppose the author were asked to advise an artist regarding how to maximize his income. Based on the passage, the author would probably recommend that the artist A. Avoid techniques used by modern artists, study the work of Manet and the Impressionists, copy the techniques of classical artists, or focus on sculpting instead of painting. So, I'm automatically gonna cross out D because that's like a very general answer. Um,
Let's try this again.
okay. Suppose the author were asked to advise the artist regarding how to maximize income. I would say yeah, the author would probably recommend that they focus on painting like things that were influenced by like older traditional art. Um, I guess I'm just confused because it says classical artists and does that mean older artists?
Maybe.
The passage mentioned Manet, but I don't know if they mentioned the Impressionists.
So, what would you uh end up with, like leaning towards?
Well, I don't know. If I kind of want to look at the passage to see if the author mentioned the Impressionists. But part of me is thinking to pick A.
Wait, A?
Well, no.
Sorry. So, tell me your answer again.
It says that well, I feel like the author would probably want for you to use like I guess like older traditional artist techniques.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Which
maybe C, but like I'm just confused about classical artists.
so uh So okay. Now, whether so like the things that you were saying, it's like exactly what, people would say, but that's exactly why I'm not letting you do that. Now, yes, they mentioned Manet, okay? And you wanted to go back to the passage to see if they mentioned Impressionists or not. Now, why would it matter if they mentioned it or not? Because remember, the trap answer choices are going to be mentioning things, and the trap way of eliminating choices would be because it wasn't mentioned, right? So first and foremost, we need to answer the question, and you can see that so far, three questions, right? How did we get our answers, right? Did we go back to the passage? No. Did we really just spend a lot of time trying to read like each of the choices? No. We basically just made it, or I blocked things out so that you just come up with your own answer. And then that leads you to the right answer. And that's what most people don't do in cars, because most people, they want to go back to the passage. And if you went back to the passage, you might say something like, all right, it's not C because they never said anything about classical artists, right? And they would also say, oh, so they mention um Manet, right? They mention the Impressionists, so it's going to be B. But that's the trap, you see, right? Because they know that MCAT people are going to be like, I don't want to read this, and they're going to go back to the passage. That's why we are going to understand the passage so much that we not only don't need to go back, but we benefit from not going back. Because if you go back, you're likely going to get it wrong. So I guarantee you a large percentage chose B. And a large percentage, I guarantee you, would eliminate C because they did not use the word classical. And that's another reason why I want you to put everything in your own words, because that forces you to be able to see that answer choices can be talking about the same thing that is being talked about in the passage by but simply using different words, right? And pretty much that, right? So yeah, so that's why, it's interesting because it's almost like paradoxical. It's like because like you asked, okay, can I see like, I want to kind of see the passage, and that's like the reflex because that you would think that seeing the passage would help you answer a question on the passage, but ironically, not seeing the passage is going to be more likely to get you the right answer.
Right. I mean, but I guess I'm still a little confused though, because didn't they say that Monet and the Impressionists were influenced by older traditional art as well?
Um, well, the entire passage talked about how Rodin was the one who did that, right? And how Rodin is different. And we even answered that in a previous question, right? Like, I think two questions ago, like they asked, like, how, was he different, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the first one. Yeah. So they're saying he was different from other artists because he painted things other artists wouldn't do. And we know he painted old stuff, so he must be the only one who painted old stuff, right?
I see. So it's like,
Mhm.
but he was influenced. It's that he was influenced by Monet and the Impressionists.
Um, Let me see. So they said here, um, okay, sculpture like the painting of Manet and the Impressionists would have been unthinkable without older academic. Okay, I guess I see what you're saying when it says, so I guess they are saying that Manet and the Impressionists also depended on older art. So I definitely see that. Um, but I guess C would be a better answer because Rodin isn't making money by studying Manet and the Impressionists.
Oh, I see. It's the fact that it's like studying them specifically.
Hmm. Yeah. So like, and also like, there's even like another thing would should be like studying doesn't mean that you're going to be painting in that way, but yeah, ultimately the reason for old imitating. Oh well, sorry. So the Manet and Impressionists were similar to Rodin in that they were also um like imitating older art, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their Rodin and Manet stuff are going to be similar. It's just that they both would rely on older art. Um, and so, but Rodin wants to do the like it's not like Rodin is trying to copy Manet and the Impressionists. He's trying to just copy older techniques because that's what would make him money. So, yeah. So I would also say like for a question like this, that's a main idea question. Um, our answer will likely be since the main idea is more than one paragraph, answer could be in more than one paragraph, and Manet and the Impressionist seems to be a very narrow kind of thing here. But but yeah, even without the stuff with Manet and Impressionists, your answer is the one that you came up with on your own, and that's, going to be your best bet.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
My bad. On the basis of the passage, a comparison of Cézanne's and Rodin's work might reasonably lead to the conclusion that A. Rodin's work received praise while Cézanne's work did not. B. Cézanne was poorer than Rodin. C. Official recognition of one's art is important to artists. Or D. Some states and cities prefer long established art forms. Um, well, I'm gonna cross out B because I think that's just like an assumption.
That's yeah, good. That's like the trap, right? I would probably even fall for that. Well, not really, but because they said Cezanne didn't do this thing that got him paid. So, but yeah, okay, good.
Um, I don't think it's C either because it doesn't seem like Cézanne was really pressed for the recognition.
Uh-huh. That's I think that was like the opposite or some yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I guess I'll probably just go with A.
Uh, tell me why. Like because you told me about B and C, but what about A and D?
Well, okay, well D, well actually I don't know. I feel like D could work as well. It
Yeah.
says here some states and city prefer
Mm-hmm.
established art forms, and
Mm-hmm.
in the paragraph, the second paragraph, I think it was, or the third, it
Mm-hmm.
was saying that he got funding from like the state and the municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I forgot to say if you need to go back to anything, you can go back to the map.
copy.
Forgot to say that, but yeah. So good. What does this mean?
Long established art forms. I figured it was like old traditional.
Yep.
Uh,
You
yeah.
can see there's many ways to say something. Classical, which by the way does mean old. Most of the time on the Mcat cars, classical will be specifically referring to ancient Greece and Rome. That's like, I guess if you have a capital C classical, but in general, yeah, classical will be another like a synonym for old. And yeah, good. Good job.
Yeah.
Um, okay, cool. Yep.
It works. Like I feel like sometimes I just don't finish reading all of the answer choices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The author's use of the term rebel to describe Rodin's art most likely refers to how his works A. were not displayed in mainstream venues like museums, B. critiqued older forms of sculpture, C. resembled the works of Gilulun, Schoen, Dalu, and Chapias, or D. had elements not found in older art. Um, I don't think it's B. Like I'll cross that one out immediately. Um, term rebel. I don't think it's B. I don't think it critiqued anything.
Yeah.
And A says that his that's not true because it states in the paragraph that it was displayed at that garden.
Yeah.
So it's not A or B. But I don't see how C like resembling would
Mhm.
use the term rebel. Like I don't see
Yeah.
how.
You almost had said so this would be like a direct contradiction, right?
Yeah.
We said the author said rebel going against the works of these people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So like maybe it is D.
Yep. I mean, yeah. I don't really like it, but in cars, that's gonna happen. A lot of times, the right answer is just the least wrong.
I see. Because I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
Because I mean, yeah, I guess like they talked about his modes.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So it seems like the author, that it seems like the author does not believe really that he's a rebel,
Yeah.
right? So but yeah, great job. And yeah, so this is this like the strategy basically, and you can see how it's very different from like a regular approach to it, but it's all still centered around, your understanding and your critical thinking. And that's why, like, yeah, like ironically, like blocking things out can lead to better results because it forces you to think. So yeah, so I would say as you practice cars, try to like pay attention to these arguments, what those arguments are, who's making the arguments. And yeah, I would go like, paragraph by paragraph, writing out a map, um, get your main idea, which is an argument that's in more than one paragraph, and then try the questions out without looking to the back to the passage. I mean, if you absolutely if it says like, okay, in paragraph two they said this, then you can go back. But I would say just don't make it a reflex to go back because that's what is the case a lot of the times. And then also when you read the question, like give yourself some, couple of seconds to like really like ask yourself like, okay, like what are they really asking in this question? And then see if you can come up with an answer. You can't do that with every type of question, but a lot of questions you can. Yeah, so like I would say, yeah, try to come up with your own answer, and then you can look for it in the choices. And then yeah, when evaluating the choices, go, through each of them. Because we want you like in addition to knowing what's the right answer, like knowing the wrong answers, why they're wrong as well. Um, so yeah, what do you think?
I think this is good because I feel like before I was kind of like just stressing about like the timing of everything where it's like, oh, I need to make sure that I read and understand and then like get through the questions. Like, so I was doing like the 5 minute method.
Yep.
And I think because I was rushing through it, I think that's why I have the tendency to like not fully read all the answer choices and to kind of just like go with like,
Yep. That's like, yeah, that's the irony of this all. like yeah, one of my students that would do like rush like crazy. Like I remember like on like in the last week before his like test, he was saying something like, I was running out of time at this point. We were going over a passage from like a practice test, and he was like, okay, I was like running out of time, and I was like starting to skim, and I was like, don't ever use that word in front of me. And the entire philosophy is very different here, but it makes sense because like 99% of people who come to me, like they all basically say like something like, I don't have enough time, so I'm gonna have to skim through it. Or they'll say something crazy like I'll read the questions first, or like they're like you're gonna end up just spending more time doing it that way. So I think if you the most important thing is that you understand the passage, because that if you understand the passage, you don't have to go back to it. And if you understand the passage like we did, and you think about your own answer, it takes like a second to answer it. So instead of doing like, I'm gonna skim the passage, I'm gonna look at the choices, and I'm gonna read back and then pick some answer choice randomly and spend like 3 minutes per question or some crazy thing or whatever. Um, yeah, you wanna not do that. You want to spend, however long it takes. If it takes 7 minutes, whatever, because the more you understand the passage, the less, of course, you'll get wrong, but also the less time it'll take to answer the questions. So, um, yeah, so you want to have that really, really good understanding.
Okay. So I guess like the way I should practice this is I guess like making the maps and then like when I apply it to the real thing, like am I still making maps?
By that point, you will have internalized all of that. Um, because if you think about it, when we make the map, we have to think about what to put in the map. So we have to organize what we just read. So if you practice that, you can get to the point where you are starting to write something for your map, but since you organized it in your head before you write it down, you will have already done the organization in your head. So yeah, we can get to the point where you don't have to write all that stuff out. Um, but yeah, I would place the biggest emphasis on the main idea, which is that repeated argument. And that can help, like, if you're like, I mean, obviously, like, I don't want you to rush or anything like that, but it's like, yeah, if things get really, really bad, you can start to see that main idea, usually by like paragraph 3. And that's going to be like the number one thing. Like if you understand the main idea, you're good. I mean, there could be specific questions that might be more difficult than usual, but they're going to be classified as more difficult. So, but but if you don't understand the passage, you're not going to get stuff right. So it ultimately hinges on that. And Jack Weston lets you, when you hit the solution, it lets you see in the solution like the main idea in like a short, 3 to 4 like word like sentence. So that can also give you immediate feedback, like to see if your main idea lines up with uh the official one.
Gotcha.
Yep. Awesome. So anything else?
Oh no, I feel like this is a big help because I definitely like cars is my lowest section. I consistently struggle with cars, so I'm
Mhm.
definitely gonna like take this and apply this to my practice and fingers crossed we see some improvement.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is going to be a game changer. So I definitely think we're going to see some improvement really quickly. So yeah, so try this out as you move forward. And let's see, when would you like to meet next?
think I'm going to take off May 5th. It's that Monday. Yeah, I'm taking off some time from work from work to have
Uh-huh.
more days to study just because it's hard, like with 40-hour work weeks and then
Oh yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah.
yeah, but we're gonna thug it out.
Hmm. So wait, did you say Monday the 5th that you wanted to meet?
Yeah.
Okay. What would be a good time? Would like 1 p.m. work or what would be
Yeah.
good?
I feel like 1 p.m. will be good as well.
Your Eastern time?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, okay. So, and how long do you want that session to be?
Like an hour.
Okay. So May 5th, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Mhm.
All right, awesome. Oh yeah, and then so for today it should be 1:28.
Happy.
Okay.
All right,
All
well,
right.
have a good week.
Awesome. Yeah, you too, okay? Take care.